Recording. All right, so welcome everyone to here. We're talking about IRL social skills, which we know is a community-based proactive approach to mental health. And I'm Mara McLoughlin. I am the owner and program director here at IRL Social Skills. I spent most of my career working in the schools. My specialty was working with non-speaking autistic students, getting them a functional way to express themselves. And I noticed that even those who could speak, who were perhaps doing well academically, were struggling socially. And that those lagging skills were really where the rubber hits the road, right? So that's why I started this business. I am also a student and teacher of yoga and mindfulness. I'm a certified provider of the program for the education and enrichment of relational skills, which is the curriculum that we use from UCLA, and I'll be talking more about that. And I'm also a member of the Oregon Commission for Autism, appointed by former Governor Kate Brown. So today we're going to talk about, what the research shows us about social skills in autistic, ADHD, other neurodivergent teens and adults, and why direct, explicit instruction and practice, that experiential learning component, is necessary to address the implementation of these skills, as well as the critical role that parents and caregivers play in the social skills acquisition. So as I mentioned, we teach UCLA's program for the education and enrichment of relational skills, developed at UCLA at the Semel Institute. In addition to the peers curriculum, we also add in neuroscience-backed nervous system education to develop our family's interoception skills and to further facilitate co-regulation and self-regulation, which are fundamental skills to help us relate to other people as well as to ourselves. So let's talk a little bit about autistic social communication. I mean, knowing that this is, a very broad spectrum, and, no one person is like another. We tend to see the use of repetitive themes, the people want to talk about what they want to talk about, right? And there might be a tendency to kind of monopolize the conversation, not have that conversational reciprocity. There can be some challenges to provide relevant information to the topic. They might be jumping around from topic to topic. They might use that pedantic style of speaking, like the little professor, and there might be a difference in speech prosody. So that means the up and down inflection of how we speak. And there is a difficulty in interpreting verbal and nonverbal social cues, attending to those cues. The consequences are dire, okay? We see greater social isolation. 91% of autistic youth have never had a close friend, okay? There's also fewer romantic relationships, and we are all humans, and humans are social, right? Even the most introverted among us is still social. And the impacts of not, having a friend means you don't know how to have a friend. You don't know how to be a friend. You don't know how to do these things. And these are practices. We see outcomes that are autistic and other neurodivergent teens and young adults are more dependent on their caregivers, and so they're less likely to live independently. There's a very chronic under an unemployment situation. And there's less post-secondary education because that transition is so difficult because of the social demands. Transitioning from high school to college has a lot of social demands. Our students are trying, right? This they are trying to engage, and they are often rejected, right? They will like interrupt conversations, they'll try to tell jokes, but they're like not reading the cues that their jokes are not going over well, even though they know that senses of humor are really valued in society. Um, and then they might get bad reputations. And this typically follows those who have ADHD, or even that mixed neurotype of autism and ADHD, and which results in, there's emotional dysregulation. And then there's the social isolation that comes from, those who are the wallflowers, those who are waiting for other people to come and initiate with them. They're not initiating. And, they might be waiting an awfully long time, right, for someone to initiate with them. So those skills need to be targeted, those initiation skills. And the mental health issues that come along with being peer rejected, socially isolated, shunned, excluded, ostracized are significant. In terms of the educational and professional consequences, we see that, there's more than 50% of those who left high school, they had no participation in employment or education. They are sitting in their parents' basement playing video games. Only 35% had attended college, even though they are, of average to above average intelligence, and most of the time really smart. And they had only 55% of them had held paid unemployment after school. And we hear this. It is very common that even those who do get a college degree are still struggling to gain and retain employment. And so the downstream effects of not providing direct, explicit instruction in social skills are really significant. There's a workforce development gap, and there's a mental health crisis, there's a loneliness epidemic, and schools typically target interventions at the lower grades. And then when our students get to be 6th grade, services decline, right? Right when social demands increase. So on the topic of the mental health crisis, we know that 1 in 36 children in the US are identified as autistic. And that's only those who are identified. 60% of autistic youth and young adults experience bullying, and bullying includes shunning and exclusion, cancellation. 1 in 4 autistic youth experience suicidal ideation even as young as age 10. They're 28 times more likely to experience suicidal, actually to attempt suicide starting at age 10. Yeah. So very grim statistics. And interventions are attempted. Social skills training, quote unquote, is common with autistic children. But then they get older. And, as we get older, our social demands increase, but the services decrease. And this intervention, the problems with the interventions in the schools is like, they don't use an evidence-based curriculum. They're pulling something off the shelf, or they're doing something that they deem, to be the proper way to intervene on social skills. Does it work? How do you know? You need to look at the evidence. The instruction might use metaphors, autistic people do not do well with metaphors. The dosage is insufficient. 90 minutes a month on an IEP doesn't cut it. It's not nearly enough. The intervention is not trauma informed or trauma assumed, because if you have been peer rejected and shunned, that is traumatizing, because we need to belong, right? Also, another issue with autism intervention is that there's no parent training. Parents want to help their kids, right? It is painful for parents to watch their child struggle and to not know how to help. Oftentimes, parents come to their own neurodivergence realization through the identification of their child. And they're like, wait a minute, I'm not really very good at these skills either, so I don't know how to teach them. And then you have, the very common situation, no matter one's teen's neurotype, that they don't want to listen to you. They could listen to another adult, who's saying the exact same thing, right? Single trial learners, concrete thinkers, I do this with this person in this room. The skills don't generalize. That means they don't carry over to in real life, right? And there's no assessment of the durability of the treatment over time. Does this work? How do we know? For how long does it work? Does the learning stick? And that is what peers addresses. So relationships are mental health care. Fact of the matter is, we need friends. We need to know how to be a friend. We need to know how to have a friend. Having close friends that predicts later adjustment in life. These are people, friends are people with whom we can celebrate the joys of life, right? And people who will be there for us when things get hard, because things will inevitably get hard. And we want to be the kind of friend who is there for other people when things get hard. The protection against victimization, maybe some bullying, that implementation of bystander support, somebody who has your back. And having close friends, we have a positive correlation with self-esteem, self-confidence, independence. And then correlates negatively with depression and anxiety, suicidality. Close friends, are the medicine, and connection is the cure. Social connections at all stages of life are essential for physical and mental well-being. Of particular importance are social relationships during adolescence that shape adult health behaviors and health outcomes. So teens with higher peer status in school have better health and lower healthcare costs as young adults. So this is that downstream effects that I mentioned earlier. The cost in U.S. healthcare, you can see those, red dots, those who have, 0 to 1 friends have higher healthcare costs versus those who have, a crew, of more friends. And, the magic number is 3. 3 friends with whom you can connect and with whom you can maintain connections. So IRL Social Skills offers a proven effective approach to social, relational, and communication skills coaching. As mentioned, we teach the Peers program. It was developed at UCLA in 2004. It is the only proven effective program as noted by the University of North Carolina's National Clearinghouse for Autism Standards and Practices as of December of 2020. Most federal dollars, most research funding goes to answer the question, why do you exist? Very few federal dollars goes to answer the question, like, you exist, you're here, you're obviously meant to be here, right? How can we help you have a rich life? And Peers is taught in 150 countries in 12 different languages. It's, however, can be kind of relegated to those ivory towers of academia. Also, so historically, until now, insurance companies have only paid for one-on-one treatment. The reimbursement rate has been very low for group treatment, and we heal in community. The evidence base of peers is around the power of the group. So the dosage, we use peers because of the dosage. It is a 16-week course. It's a semester-long course. It's 4 months long. We're together for a while. It's pretty awesome. The evidence base is proven. There's over 50 studies worldwide, including the gold standard of randomized controlled trials, meaning there would be a group that got no intervention versus a group that got this intervention versus a group that got some other intervention, right? The methodology, we use the Socratic method of inquiry and something called the task analysis. So what are the steps by steps of, concrete rules and steps of initiating, cultivating, and sustaining relationships? It's a strengths-based approach, right? Play to the strengths. And that's something that we start off for our first class is like, tell me one thing you love about your child, and that really sets the tone for the class, because parents hear so much of the time of like, oh yeah, your kid's so great and they do all this stuff wrong, but they're really great. And how does that impact the parents' mental health, right? How does that impact the parents' heart? The focus is, we focus on friendships and relationships of all kinds, romantic relationships, family relationships. In fact, families have told us, you should call this a family communication program because it has totally helped our whole family communicate better. I'm like, who doesn't want that, right? The inclusion of the social coach, meaning the parent or caregiver, a sibling, other responsible adult, who helps with the generalization of those skills. It's like you're partnering in this class with your teen or young adult. Peers is actively supported by the autism community, meaning actually autistic people have said, yeah, like people need social skills instruction and it needs to be good and it needs to have a trauma-informed lens, and it needs to include the skills for co and self-regulation. And we have met those requirements. And the longitudinal data shows that the effects last over time. What really sold me as a clinician on peers was looking at the longitudinal studies. And it showed that even those who had participated in the program 5 years previously were having, on average, 4 get-togethers a month. That's a social life, That's your dinner with the girls. That's your pickleball game. That's your D&D meetup, right? And that is the forum in which you can continue to practice and refine these most important skills that you can ever learn in your life. It's how to make and keep friends. Yep. So, returning to that question of, does this work? How do you know? This is just one of the measures. This just shows one of the measures that we use. We use the test of young adult social skills knowledge, as well as a test of adolescent social skills knowledge. And on average, the young adult and teen participants, as well as their parents, because parents also take these assessments, their knowledge of social skills increased 48% for the young adults and 42% for the teens. Okay, and that is really astounding. And these are not the only measures that we use. We also use UCLA's loneliness scale. We also use another tool called from University of California at San Francisco called the multidimensional assessment of interoceptive awareness. There's a youth assessment as well as an adult assessment. And we look at, we administer those tests and then we administer the intervention and then we redo those tests at the end and we note the effectiveness of our intervention. And we also have qualitative data to support our program's effectiveness. And that is the stories that families tell us about the growth of their teen or young adult. And those stories always, bring tears to my eyes. Our team includes 3 speech language pathologists, and we're all, special educators. 2 speech language pathology assistants, one of whom speaks English, Russian, and Spanish. We have 2 native Spanish speaking UCLA trained clinicians on our team, so we can deliver this intervention in Spanish. We have 1 occupational therapist, 1 social worker / licensed massage therapist who also worked in public policy for disability, for developmental disability services in Colorado for 20 years. We have 3 licensed mental health professionals. We have 2 learning specialists and 1 direct support professional on our team. This is a lot. This is a real deep bench of experts. And most of us are also identified as twice exceptional neurodivergent. So with our approach, we teach both the teens or young adults and the social coaches, parents or caregivers, concurrently. We all start together in the same Zoom room with those 15 minutes of nervous system education, which really should be called the relationship system because it is so formed and founded in relationships even before we're born. And then we break out into 90 minutes of instruction for both groups in separate Zoom rooms. There is a 5-minute break at the hour mark. The teens or young adults, the first part after we break out, they're getting the lesson from the curriculum. They have a break. They come back and they're practicing the skills that they learned. Parents, on the other hand, after we break out, the parents are going over the practice, with each other under our, facilitation, group facilitation. What worked, what didn't, what have you noticed? How can we help troubleshoot? It's very supportive. It's not a support group per se, but it is very supportive. Parents need all the support they can get, right? Let's face it. And then parents come back after the 5-minute break and they are getting the exact same lesson that their teens or young adult got. So we are, all talking the same language, using the same terminology. This is important, right? And then we reunite, we recap the lesson, and we assign the practice for the week. We have no more than 12 families per class, and I have 4 coaches per class. So it is really high touch. And it's a lot of support. You also get, full access to our interdisciplinary team for the duration of the class and, even beyond. We like walk the talk. Families keep in touch with us. We are on Christmas card lists, let me tell you. Oh yeah, as I mentioned, there's behavioral rehearsals, office hours, don't call me at 2 o'clock in the morning because I won't answer, but I will set up a meeting with you if there's a part of the curriculum that you're struggling with, if there's a particular skill that is like, I'm not quite getting it, I'm not quite getting how to help my child with it. And, all class materials are accessible actually through our, each class's private Google Drive. And then, yeah, we aim to over deliver. We know that families are chronically underserved. And we are a trauma-informed team. We have a new program for adults. There has been a call for adults age 30 and up. People, 55-year-old people, 57-year-old people are like, hey, I don't really have a lot of friends and I want to learn the skills. It's going to be a 12-week program meeting once a week, with a curriculum written by us that focuses on communication skills and how they apply to a social life, to gaining and retaining a romantic partner, dating skills, so confusing, and then workplace relations. So, these are just we have a lot of testimonials. This is just a few of what our participants say. So I'm going to play this one. You can hear his voice.
I would recommend the class no matter what age you are. The coaches are really nice, no matter if you're a teen or a older adult. There's a lot of people that can benefit from this class, even if you feel like it might not be the most helpful. It helped me more than I thought it would. I would recommend.
And the parent of this teen actually waited 6 months before writing us a Google review on purpose because she wanted to see, if the learning stuck. And indeed it did.
Hello, my name is Sonia. I have a 15-year-old son on the autism spectrum. We've joined many social skills classes in the past, and I recently just found IRL Social Skills group. They're based in Portland, Oregon, and they've been so helpful. They have taught my son and me so many skills that are things that I wouldn't even have thought of to teach my son. They actually teach the kids separately, and at the same time meet with the adults that they call coaches, and teach us how to better support our children socially. So my son has learned so many new skills, and also so many conversation skills that he didn't have in the past that now he has. We also get to practice it within the group during the week, calling each other and practicing our skills and practicing what we've learned with family and friends. It's been a wonderful experience, and I highly recommend them.
Well, thanks, Sonia. Oops. Nope. Hold on. Oh yeah. So this parent, Karen, she enrolled her son in the class. He hated Zoom. But these are the skills that they want to learn. Yeah. He was able to use the skills he learned to navigate challenging situations and difficult conversations. He even began dating. And this was really cool because this student came out as gay during our class with a loud color bomb, and everyone was so supportive. It was so beautiful. Yeah, my kiddo and I took this class. It was a total game changer. It's hard to watch your child struggle with making friends. In fact, it was heartbreaking for me as the parent. I was lost on how to help because I too am an introvert. This class tackles the whole issue, giving parents tools to help and teaching kids the skills to make friends. I wish there had been something like this program when my oldest child was younger. But you know what? It is never too late to learn these skills. We can teach them, we can be taught, we can learn these skills, we can practice these skills, we can get better at them.
He was being bullied in school as we were doing the bullying sessions, and he came home all excited to tell me about how he handled it, which was kind of a trip. Like, oh wow, you're excited to tell me about getting bullied at school, because he knew what to do and he handled it effectively, and it helped me to more effectively communicate with the school, to have some specific things to reference.
Yeah. Sharing evidence-based information with the school, especially around bullying, super helpful. And yeah, and we just got this email from a teen participant. I wanted to reach out and thank you for your guidance and teaching. You've helped me learn new skills and to be more intentional with my words during social interactions. These skills will help me for the rest of my life. I sincerely appreciate the program you offer because I know it has helped and will continue to help so many people. Thank you again. And these just warm our hearts, right? So here's how you can get at me. You can email me. You can look us up on social media. We're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. You can read our Google reviews. We have a YouTube channel. It's not super built out yet, but we do have it. And I'll share in the chat my meeting link. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Thank you all for being here.